Hi, everyone, and welcome. I am excited to get us started today. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our webinar series on what we think is so important this year, this third school year of COVID. We have a focus on equity, empathy, and excellence across our schools this year, and that is what our webinar series has been focused on. Well, we started with equity. Today, we are incredibly grateful to be able to share our work, creating brave and belonging spaces with you as we focus on empathy. In May, we will focus on excellence as our last webinar for the year and share what our Kipsters have accomplished this year. I want to start with gratitude today. I just want to say thank you to all of you because we are coming off of our season of gratitude, which is a really, really important time for us to work alongside our Kipsters and their families and to help our Kipsters across the holiday season. This year, we raised nearly $100,000 to support both our little and big Kipsters through the holiday season. This support means so much to our little and big Kipsters. We did things like buy toys for our kids. We bought sheets for our kids who needed bedding. We gave out food gift cards. We treated our teachers who've been working so hard to meals. So we were just able to do so much, and we couldn't have done that without your support. Thank you. As we kick off 2022, here in January, in the middle of another COVID surge, not exactly as we had hoped to start off 2022, but yet we are making it work. All 59 of our schools are open and have been open this 2022 year. As we face the challenges of COVID head on, we're also really proud of what we're starting to see in our academic results. While we saw decreases in our academic results from 2020 to 2021, we have actually just received our English language arts and math interim assessment scores back, and they are up. They show improvement from 2021 to now 2022, and we are so excited. In addition to math and English language arts in high school, and in 8th grade, we've seen improvements and increases in Algebra 1, 8th grade, one of our most significant courses, as well as in high school in English 2, US history, and biology. So although this road to recovery is a challenging one in the middle of these surges, we are pushing on. Our teachers are incredibly persistent. Our school leaders are incredibly persistent, and it's making a difference for our kids, and we're seeing that real time. So we're so grateful for that. And relevant to our conversation today, our children who have exceptional needs, our students with IEPs, as well as our emergent bilingual students across Kipp, Texas, are also showing improvement from 2021 to 2022. And we are really, really proud of the work that we're doing with these children who we're able to provide more wraparound supports to, as well as academic supports. And so we've seen particular increases in science and English language arts. As we begin this semester, as I said, we are just really focused on both academic recovery as well as facing the challenges of COVID head on. We have been volunteering to teach in our schools, all of us that you see on the screen today. By way of example, 3 days ago, our CFO was teaching pre-K because at Kipp we do whatever it takes. And so it's been really beautiful to see the way our team and family has wrapped around our little and big Kipsters and our schools to keep them open. We just last week, between Monday and Wednesday, did voluntary COVID testing for 16,000 students, staff, and their families. And we just received so much gratitude for opening that up as an option and possibility for our students, our staff, and their families. So with that, today I am just so excited to talk about brave and belonging spaces. When people ask me about the magic of Kipp, I say team and family. It's our community, and such a big part of our community is creating brave and belonging spaces for our students. And so here with me today is Dr. Deidre Harp. Deidre has been a big Kipster for over 16 years. 16 years. Deidre came to us actually in the middle of Hurricane Katrina. Some of you may know our history, but when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, we actually started a school initially out of the Astrodome for hurricane victims called Kip New Orleans West, Kip now College Prep. And Deidre came to us as a school psychologist at the time to help our students with the trauma that they had experienced during the hurricane. And Deidre has been an incredible ambassador for our students every minute since that day that she came to us. She is an incredible teammate, so knowledgeable and talented. And it is my honor to be able to introduce her here today. And she will introduce our amazing team that will be joining us today. Deidre?
Thank you, Seba. Good to see you this afternoon. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be able to talk to you today about the origins of brave and belonging. What does that actually mean? And to do that, I want to share with you what I believe my main learning has been since I've been here at Kip. And that is that every single child matters every single day. Every child comes to us with all that they need inside of them to be the very best that they can be. And it's our job to create an equitable learning environment that draws out what is already beautifully made within them. And so S3, Student Support Services, our core belief is that every single child, every single day, including those that are at risk for developing and those who are already showing us some behavioral concerns, emotional challenges, any type of learning challenges, and any type of physical challenges, that they will be supported and they will feel success and excel in school. To bring those beliefs to life, we have an incredible team that focuses on this every single day. They're on the screen here today. I'm going to introduce them in a moment, but they really work lockstep with one another to achieve KIP's mission. And that is our multilingual education team, our special populations team, and our student wellness team, which includes school health, school-based mental health, and social and emotional learning. So people-wise, what does this look like? Just to kind of give you an idea, as we start to talk about brave and belonging spaces, who are the adults that are kind of behind that work? And what that looks like are school-based teams, regional teams, state teams that consist of S3 professionals, our special education teachers, our paraprofessionals, our assessment staff, our related services staff, our speech therapists, our licensed counselors and our licensed social workers, our homeless liaisons, our nurses, our clinic staff, our English as a second language coordinators and compliance professionals and instructional specialists. These folks, along with our social emotional learning specialists, comprise the S3 team and are really living and breathing brave and belonging spaces every day. Our work has always been and will always be student focused. Along the way, we have had huge victories. We have watched our students with disabilities grow, advocate for themselves, and graduate. We are strengthening our academic programming and instruction for our students who are learning English. And we have instituted social emotional learning through a vetted curriculum and advisory lessons. We have prioritized our staffing at our schools with licensed counselors and social workers that can best identify the needs of our students that have mental health issues and the needs of their families, and to provide services for them and establish and maintain incredible community partnerships like our Legacy Community Partnership here in Houston that really provides a much needed layer of support for our families. So we have been with our families in their victories, and then with our students in their victories and some of their darkest hours as well, when violence has taken members of our community and left a wake of grief behind. We have established and grown our partnerships, and we're really, really focused on what is happening every single day in our classrooms to make our children feel as if they belong and to know that they belong. We are committed to bringing the heartbeat to life in our schools. What is the heartbeat, you might ask me? The heartbeat is really a set of actions that we all agree to take as big Kipsters that defines what culture looks like in our schools. It defines how we want our students to feel when they walk through our doors, when they walk through their halls, when they sit in their classrooms, and they feel like they belong in their school. What we want our students to feel is that they belong, that they can be brave, and that they can take risks, and that who they are and where they are from matters. And if they see something that they don't agree with, that is not value driven, that we have a critically conscious environment where they can call it out and they feel safe to call it out. That is what brave and belonging really means to us. And as a part of our effort to create brave and belonging schools, we have created what we're calling Brave and Belonging Advisories for all Kipsters, wherein we're providing community connection every single day, where we are providing direct instruction of social emotional learning every single week. Why are we doing that? We want to build the muscles of self-awareness, the muscles of social awareness, the relationship skills needed so that our students can be nimble, they can be confident in any environment that they find themselves in. We're really excited about Brave and Belonging Advisories this year, and we've actually leveraged some external funding to be able to use research-based practices in every single classroom to purchase that curriculum, to train our staff to implement in the classroom every day. We've used that funding also to stipend school-level champions who wake up every day thinking about SEL, who wake up every day working with our teachers to really strengthen what brave and belonging looks like every day in the heartbeat in our schools. And so we're excited because we know that this is not just a moment in time. This is something that we're committing to today and in our future. And we are committed to making sure that we prioritize this. COVID has taught us that even now more than ever, the sense of community and the strength of the team and family is really what matters the most. And while our students are experiencing academic recovery, we need to be as focused on their hearts and on their spirits as we are on their learning. Their families have experienced significant stressors, and while they are incredibly resilient and they blow my mind every single day, we need to continue to be mindful in our planning to really build in additional mental health support for both our students and staff. So I've given you an outlay of what I believe brave and belonging really means to us and how student support services is an integral part of making that successful. I'd like to now introduce our incredible panelists, and they're going to bring to life even more what I've said and add to it in volumes, I'm sure. And so who you see today with us are members of our student support services team. And I'm actually going to start by introducing one of the older members of our team who's been here a little bit the longest. His name is Mitch Alatkin. Mitch Alatkin is our Managing Director of Special Populations, and Mitch works with Kipp, Texas regions and schools and teams to make sure that our students that are in special education are receiving the design supports and a rigorous academic environment that's equitable. I also love to introduce to you Kevin Kerr. He is our founding director of social emotional learning. Kevin's work is really instrumental, that along with his team, and making sure that we're actually progress monitoring what brave and belonging looks like through our SEL curriculum. Dr. Alexis Chusola, she is our founding managing director of multilingual education. Alexis comes to us with incredible knowledge around our emergent bilinguals and what they need in their classroom environment to be successful. And she's really, I know we're going to be seeing the ripple effects of her work for years to come as we strengthen that part of our organization. And last but not least is Dr. Maria Rivera. She is the newest to our team. She is our founding managing director of student wellness. And as a licensed physician and pediatrician, has been instrumental in our response to COVID and driving the vision for student wellness for Kipp, Texas. So team, welcome. It's so good to see you. This question is for all of you, okay? So Kevin, I'm gonna warm call you to go first in the response, but let me just list the question and then each of you can just respond. What compels you about creating brave and belonging spaces. And what have you seen this year that reminds you why this work is so important? Kevin?
Awesome. Thank you, Deidre. I think there's a couple of things that compel me. One is if I asked you to think back to your favorite teacher and what they did, a lot of times it's about the relationship that they had with you, right? They cared about me. They really took time to invest in me. They got to know me, and we don't always have that. And there's a lot of pressures in school to perform academically, which we need to do, but we wanted to create that space for students to get to know their teachers, to get to know each other, and to get to for the teachers to get to know the students. And I've seen that. It's amazing to walk around, to walk into classrooms and see every student greeted by other students, by the teacher, to see students get to know each other well, talk about questions, talk about issues that are going on in our society, and just really building healthy relationships. That's really what compels me.
Thank you, Kevin. Mitch, how about you?
I believe what compels me the most is I think about our students with disabilities and how to ensure that they are included in all environments of the school. And I think we are already seeing amazing things where no one is excluded. All of our students with disabilities continue to be actively involved in the school environment and all the activities. And I think moving forward, continuing on that trajectory continues to compel me. And watching our students with disabilities grow and thrive in our schools continues to be a motivator and compelling why for Brave and Belonging.
Thank you, Mitch. Maria?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with everything that Mitch has said and everything that Kevin has said. And I think just tying to the second part of your question, Deidre, about why is it so important, and especially right now with what we're seeing, our students have gone through so much collective trauma in the last 2 years that it's extremely important, and maybe more important than ever, for them to feel safe in schools, for them to feel like they belong in their schools, for them to feel like they have a place where they can talk about their worries, where they can process some of the things that they're going through. Because we know that if we're not addressing all these other external things that are happening in their lives, they're not going to be able to learn. And so I think that is a big driver for all of us every single day, but especially over the last 2 years with everything that we've seen with the pandemic, it's extremely important for us to focus on that right now.
Thank you, Dr. Rivera. Alexis?
Yeah, thank you, everyone. So yeah, as a first generation Latina, my parents were both immigrants, and what drives me at this job and this work is really my passion to lift up the voices of our students here at Kipp that are in a very similar situation, and being able to be committed to that type of work. So I'm proud of what I've seen this year of our multilingual team. We're working nonstop to help our students not only embrace like their dual identity, their dual cultures, their dual language, and finding ways to make the curriculum accessible and helping our students find the resources they need as they've joined us and joined the Kipp family. This year and specifically, we've worked really hard to help our teachers create lessons that are inclusive, that have our language accommodations. We've been welcoming families from all over the world. Specifically, we've engaged with our new refugee families from Afghanistan, checking in not only on making sure we have the technology and the resources to support their learning, but also looking at how we're reaching other counseling services for Maria's team, or even working with our food services to ensure that we can provide a lunch to our students and meeting their cultural needs. We're also welcoming many students who are being released from detention centers. We have a couple of students that have been in a detention center for 2 years or more. We're welcoming them to our families, to our school, and making sure not only that we're meeting their needs at school, but again, what their families need and what they're needing based on that trauma. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone. And I also just want to take a moment to encourage those of you who are attending to please drop your questions in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. We will definitely have time to answer questions. So please enter those into the chat. Thank you, team, for commenting on that question. I appreciate it. This next one actually is for Mitch and Kevin. And so what I'd like for you to think about now is what makes Kipp unique in terms of the way that we are tackling social emotional learning and the ways in which we're attacking special education right now. Tackling, not attacking. Tackling is the word I meant to say. Thank you.
I guess I'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think one of the most unique things, because I've worked in multiple districts and helping them roll out SEL, is the dedicated time. You know, time is one of our most precious assets that we have in school. And to say 30 minutes every day, we're going to be intentional about making students feel welcome, about making students feel heard, and making students feel accepted. And then we're going to give them, try to teach skills that can help them, not just in the school, but outside of school as well. And that definitely is one of the most unique things. Two quick others: dedicated PD time, professional training that we've given, coaching, and the dedication to raise money and additional funds to help broaden this and build deeper teacher knowledge on our campuses.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. And I think that it's critical how you're making that connection about forward thinking too. So what's necessary for our success this year, and then how are we growing to make sure that as our needs potentially may change, that we are responsive to that. So thank you for that, Kevin. Mitch.
Thank you. One of my really huge philosophies and belief is that there should be no reason why any child with any disability and any need cannot attend a Kipp, Texas public schools. And we're seeing that come to life as we continually expand our special education programming to be even more specialized. Across many of our schools, we'll see specialized programming that caters to more life skills for our students with higher cognitive needs and more multiple disabilities. We see behavioral support classrooms for our students with emotional disturbances. In addition, we have a wide range of related services between occupational therapy, physical therapy, going back to the philosophy that there is no reason why a family could not bring their child with a disability to Kipp, Texas. And that is something I am so incredibly proud of, and that we continue to grow that out each and every year. In addition, our Austin region has an 18+ program, which expands our services outside of the pre-K-12 realm, because our students with disabilities can continue with us until they're 21 and 364 days. And for that, and this continual mission for us to advance access for all of our students, we continue to see that happening each and every day and grow. So I continue to be so proud of all of that.
Thank you so much, Mitch. It's incredibly important for our equitable learning environments that is the focus. So thank you so much for that. Our next question is for Maria and Alexis. Tell me a little bit about how we invest and include our families in the creation of brave and belonging spaces in our schools. Maria?
Yeah, so we, from the very beginning, as we were starting to think about brave and belonging spaces and SEL curriculums, et cetera. Even though I personally wasn't here in those very beginning stages, Deidre and Kevin were holding down the fort specifically on SEL. A lot of those conversations were had with parents. And so they were talked about in our school health advisory council meetings and with other parents as well to get parental feedback on all the things that we were developing. And we continue to try to engage parents in that way. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about the Kip Needs Assessment that we're also doing right now, where we're asking parents to help their students, to let us know how they're feeling, how they're doing, how they're experiencing the SEL curriculum, and then very specific questions around whether or not that will help us understand whether or not our SEL curriculums are are actually helping and being implemented in our schools. And so we are continuously trying to engage parents in this work, and asking for their feedback in multiple different ways and in multiple different surveys. And Alexis, I know that you all are doing a lot on your team.
Definitely. So, I mean, a lot in collaboration with your team, Maria. So thank you. For our multilingual team, we've been investing in reaching out to our families. One, just being aware of what programming or what type of instruction that we offer on our campuses. So immediately when we have a new student to our school, we're trying to assess the level of support that they need and what do we actually offer on each campus to be able to help our students not only succeed in the academics, but also in their development of English. We've been able to also work with the wellness team and really with our counselors on finding our families that are new to the country, just resources and navigating the United States, what's available, what medical care is available, food, housing. And so really trying to help our families together as they've gone and joined us.
Thank you very much, both of you. And thank you for making the connection between the work that both of your teams are doing, because I think what that does demonstrate for us is how this is an integrated approach. And it does take us communicating, it does take us working effectively together, because we are in a, as everyone knows, in a very rapidly changing environment. So I just appreciate you calling that out and making that connection. For Maria and Kevin, one of our questions we have is around our Kip Needs Assessment. Can you talk a little bit about what the needs assessment is and how this is a way that we're routinely engaging with our families and our students and what we'll be using that information to help us do?
Yeah, so I can start that off, and Kevin, feel free to jump in at any point. So the Kip Needs Assessment really started as a way to try to figure out what are some of the needs that families are having during the COVID-19 pandemic, but has since expanded. And so this newest iteration of the needs assessment, which is actually going to launch on January 31st for 3 through 12th grade and January 19th for the pre-K through second graders, is a way for us to ask every single student, all 32,000 plus of our students, different questions around what their needs are as it relates to, are they experiencing food insecurity? Have they had a loss of a parent or other family member in the last year? But also really dives deep into their mental health and well-being, asking screening questions such as like, how often have you been happy in the last few weeks? How often have you been feeling sad? How are you sleeping? And then additionally, we're working with a company called Panorama that has specific questions that are related to SEL, a lot of them tied to some of the SEL curriculums that we're using to help us understand how are students doing in a lot of the lessons that we're having them learn. How are they internalizing it? But really as a whole in a certain school, for example, do students feel safe in that school? Do students feel like they're belonging? And this will compare, the data that we get will be able to be compared to over 2 million students across the country based on the company that we're working with to see how are our kids doing compared to others and where can we do better. Kevin, you want to tag on?
Yeah, I think Maria did a great job answering that, but we're gonna, like she said, we're gonna use this. And we're not using it to target individual students. We're not saying, oh, this student doesn't have a growth mindset. This is a holistic view. The first chapter in one of our programs called Second Step is around growth mindset. So one of the sections that they're going to be asked about is about their mindset and their growth mindset. And so we tried to really align everything so that when we look at the results and we look at the level of implementation and practices that schools are doing, we have evidence that, look, this is truly working. And this is being very evident. And the only sad thing was there's so many things we want to ask about where we can't take 2 weeks to ask questions, right? So but it's going to be really great information to learn, not just about students, but about the school as well.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Dr. Rivera. So I'm going to ask one last question. This is to each of you, please. And so I want you to think about, each of you come with your level, your expertise in your field, We have a pediatrician. We have someone who's like been living and breathing special education for years. We have multilingual expertise, and we've got lots of expertise. Tell me a little bit about and how that translates to actually what it means for kids in our classrooms. That's where it's most important. So tell me a little bit about how you see or what you'd like to see for student support services and Brave and Belonging as we grow and in the future. So each of you take about 60 seconds to answer that question, please. Alexis, we're going to actually start with you.
Thank you, Deidre. So we currently have over 12,000 emergent bilingual students across Kipp, Texas, and we saw a 16% increase in our enrollment this year of students being identified as learning 2 languages. So goals moving forward is really establishing a strong program in our schools to target language development. And a bigger goal is really for us creating a newcomer program and curriculum so that we can continue to support our students in our AP for All effort, but establishing and really being able to have the skills of gaining their first language and a second language while they're being challenged in our curriculum. Another big goal is really working with our pre-K and kinder programs of like when our students first start their journey here at Kipp, how are we supporting them and setting them up for success from the beginning? Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
Well, first of all, we want to really build the capacity and expertise of teachers and leaders on school campuses. So we're looking to grow our team to be on campus as much as we can. It's kind of hard right now with just staffing shortages, but we're getting there. We're having communication, phone calls, emails, newsletters, and getting out. But we're also looking beyond just that advisory time, and our framework extends throughout the full day and even outside. So we're developing resources. We have trainings for parents, for community members and families. We're also working with academics and doing culturally responsive teaching practices and how to integrate SEL into academics. So we talk about things that are very beneficial in our professional lives, such as collaborating, group work, presenting. You know, a lot of the things we use in this are SEL skills. So practicing throughout the day skills that we have learned. So we're looking at a whole approach, and but we're going step by step. You know, we don't want to overwhelm teachers, especially now with everything going on. But we're moving through our framework, and I'm really excited about where we're going.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Mitch, and then Maria.
The future for special populations in Kipp, Texas continues to be such a bright area for me as I look forward, continuing to expand our programming so we can meet even more needs at each one of our individual schools. So our schools have specialized programming. If I think really specifically, some of the strategic things I want to move forward is ensuring that we have student-led IEP meetings. The I in IEP is individualized. And so when students are able to speak on behalf of their disability and their needs, it increases their self-advocacy and provides us a level of ability to understand how the students' needs manifest themselves in different environments and how we can best support them. And the best way to find that out is through the student's mouth. And that's just a powerful, powerful tool. In addition, increasing our parent training around how they can support their students with disabilities in the home, how they can work collaboratively with the school. Because just as important as that student voice in the IEP meeting is our parent and family voice. We want to make sure that we hold tight to that as a really powerful way to move forward and grow our programming while also keeping the academic bar high for all of our students.
Thank you, Maria, and then we'll move to our first question.
Yeah, so as Deidre said, I'm the newest member of this team to Kipp. I joined in August, and so really I want to speak a little bit about why I joined, which ties into what I want for the future. So I came here from Harris County Public Health. I was a primary care pediatrician for a couple of years before that, but was really working in public health for the last year. And I really saw an opportunity at Kipp because as an organization, Kipp is wanting to grow, and Kipp is wanting to really think about wellness in a holistic way and in a way that not all school districts are doing. And so my vision for student wellness specifically is for us to truly embrace a whole school, whole child, whole community model where we are looking at all the different components in a student's life and making sure that we're tackling all the different things. I think there's a lot of things that we're doing well. I think there's a lot of places where we can grow and improve, and some of them have been touched upon. I think that in our how we are training and supporting parents is one area that we can expand, have done a lot of great work and continue to expand. How we're looking at the actual physical school environment. Can we add more gardens? Can we make sure that the air quality is safe? A lot of these things that can affect our students day to day, in addition to the big hitters, right? Like student mental health, is a huge part. It's super important for their development, super important for their education, especially right now. Do they have a primary care doctor? Do they have access to healthcare, et cetera? But I think really just taking this really holistic approach and being really strategic of all the different components to do that is something that I'm hoping we'll be able to do and get to in the next couple of years.
Thank you so much, each and every one of you. I appreciate your responses. I'm going to take the first question. So this is for anyone who would like to answer. How is Kipp training teachers to care for Black students specifically, who may be coming from difficult home circumstances? In a lot of public educational environments, teachers are frightened of those students and punish them disproportionately instead of meeting those students with care and understanding. What is Kipp doing to counteract this cycle of punishment that leads to lower educational achievements? This question is open for anybody who'd like to take it.
I can start there. So we know that research states that there is an over-identification of Black students as having emotional disturbances. When I first came into this role last year, that was one of the first things that I tackled. And all students that are Black or African American that have a potential identification of emotional disturbance needs to have the documentation reviewed by more than one psychologist. We are trying to combat the over-identification and properly identify our Black and African American students for the purpose of not over-identifying and to combat the school to prison pipeline. So we know that to be true and we know that to be relevant. So that's what we did in special populations in order to counter this cycle.
Thank you, Mitch. Would anybody else like to add from your different area of expertise or experience?
I'll add if that's okay. One thing that I think is really critical to us and that we continue to work on is making sure that our teachers and our school leaders and our personnel in the school, that they have similar backgrounds and similar experiences to our children. And we know that research shows that when a Black or African American child has a Black or African American teacher, that actually positively impacts their performance significantly. And so we really want to make sure that we have a diverse group of teachers in our schools, that they represent the many different backgrounds of our students. And we do a lot of training and development for our faculty around anti-bias training, around equity, around diversity and inclusion, and ultimately belonging, right? So that we can create spaces that feel safe to our students, and that we can create spaces that feel safe to our parents, and constantly look at our data, look at what it's telling us in terms of any discrepancy by race or gender or emergent bilingual or special education, and then adjust what we need to make sure that we're truly educating our students in the ways that they need.
Thank you, Mitch, and thank you, Seba, so much for that very comprehensive picture of how our organization is really thinking about this and how we're acting on it, not just thinking about it, but acting on it. So thank you. The second question, I think this one actually might be for you, Dr. Rivera. One major concern, mental health of our little Kipsters. What has been our experience as 2022 begins with students and families and their fears of Omicron I know that you've said that word recently, probably several times today already. What is the impact on our attendance numbers, if anyone is able to also speak to that, either maybe you or maybe even Seba?
Yeah, and I think I know that we're running a little short on time, so I can probably also tie in there's a couple mental health questions in the chat, including what we're doing for kids to take care of their psychological health and how we're specifically supporting students' mental health. And so we have school-based mental health counselors in every single one of our schools. And with some of the federal funding that we got this year, Kipp was very strategic in increasing the number of school-based mental health counselors that we have in each school. And so we have hired I don't even know, more than 50 school-based mental health counselors throughout the state. But the goal is to have at least 2 mental health counselors in each of our schools to support our students. And they can be referred, they can be self-referred, they can be referred by their teachers, or they can be referred by their family members as well. But really making sure that if they need counseling services, that they have that. We also in Houston specifically have a partnership with Legacy Community Health. We're working on similar partnerships in all of our other regions, where Legacy also provides counseling services for our kids when they need it. And they also provide psychiatric care for our kids when they need it. And so this is something that we're hoping to also expand to other regions. Because as we know, there is a lot of trauma. There are a lot of mental health needs. We're also collecting a lot of data on how much our kids are being impacted through the needs assessment. In terms of how it's affecting our attendance, I think that's something that we're trying to look at. It's a little bit hard to discern. Are kids absent because they have COVID? Are they absent because they're scared of getting COVID? And the attendance numbers in general have been down this school year, or kids have transitioned to remote learning if they can, just because of the sheer number of cases that we have had of COVID-19. But our school-based mental health counselors are doing a remarkable job reaching out to families. If kids have chronic absenteeism, reaching out to see what are the reasons for that. We're really looking at those numbers closely to try to figure out what are the reasons that kids aren't coming to school. And so there's even with having 2 mental health counselors on every campus, we know that the needs are high, and we're always looking to build that and raise more money and bring more people in to help our kids.
Thank you, Maria. Everyone who has submitted questions, also thank you so much. We're not obviously going to be able to get to all of them, but we will follow up in an email with answers to your questions. So thank you. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mitch, who's going to introduce something very special in this time.
Thank you all again for joining us today. I'd like to share a video with you that really highlights brave and belonging spaces as it relates to special education. What you're about to see is everything that we want to see in schools, and the commitment of our staff members to continue to ensure that our students with disabilities receive the highest level of support and services. So without sharing too much, I just want to share how amazing this is, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I love it.
What do you want people to know about you, Eric?
That I have autism. I like math and playing Roblox and making new friends.
Oh, do you have a lot of friends?
Yes.
You do?
When I first met Eric, I just saw the sweetest boy. He is creating friendships. He is blending in the classroom.
I wasn't sure if I had made the right choice to bring him to a public school. Before, we were in a private school where he got nothing but attention. I just want to take my son, put him in my pocket, and just keep him safe. And that's when Ms. Tran kind of opened my eyes, and she said something to me that I will never forget. And she said, "Lily, you need to share your son with the world. He's such an amazing child. He's such an amazing little boy, and you need to share him with everybody." We want him to be a part of our school, of our community. It means the world to me to know that I can send my son to a school where he'll be safe.
Eric is like a really big success story in my experience.
And it was because they really pushed him but not to the point where he couldn't handle it. They knew what he was capable of, and they pushed him to that level. He was nonverbal at the time. I trusted them, and I was like, okay, if you think he's capable of doing this, I'm gonna let you. And next thing I knew, I think it was the end of kindergarten, that he was actually in front of the class making little speeches. I think my story has allowed so many parents already to go through those processes and let us help them and work together. Your child does need extra support. It's okay to need extra support. There's a gap that needs to be filled, and if you don't do it now, it's only gonna get harder, not just for you, but for them. And we need to do what's best for your child. That is I love doing that. He has done things that I never in a million years thought he was going to be able to do. And I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him.
This video is just so powerful. Thank you all for putting in the work, and our school-based teams for putting in the work that makes our schools a special place for Eric and for his mom and for many, many students. I am many things, but this year I'm also a Kipp mom. So I get to experience this with my own daughter, who is 3 years old and in Kipp Shine Prep. She's at school right now. And I can tell you that I not only receive outreach and texts from her teachers about her academic performance, but also to tell me that she's making friends, that she's adjusting, that she's learning to advocate for herself. So evidence of your work in my very home. You all, we are so grateful that you've joined us here today. And we hope you'll be able to come and see this beautiful work in action in our schools. We plan to have a tour blitz across the state in each of our cities through the month of February. And we'd love for you to join us so that you can be a part of a brave and belonging space in one of our classrooms. We're also asking that you just consider supporting Kipp Texas. And if you're already a supporter, I know many of you on this call are already supporters. Thank you. This work is not possible without your support. And then finally, we hope you will join us again. These conversations are so rich for us in that they give us an opportunity to share the many facets of our work. So we hope you'll come back and that you'll join us on May 19th at noon for the final webinar in this series. So thank you all so much. Thank you, team, for sharing your incredible work with this group we've gathered today. And we just wish you all the best and look forward to seeing the incredible outcomes of your efforts in the lives of our Kippsters. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this conversation today. Bye, everyone.